Hey everybody, this is Jason again, back at you with another movie review. Continuing the Psycho series, this time I am reviewing Psycho 3, which says, the most shocking of them all. We'll see how that goes. I do like this one in one aspect. Anthony Perkins tried his take into directing this one. So props to Anthony Perkins for taking on the extreme challenge of directing this one and filming it, or I'm sorry, acting in it. That's got to be time-consuming, tough, tiring. So I'll give him props on that one. Let's see. Then you got so you got Anthony Perkins back, obviously. You got Diana Scarwind, who plays Maureen Coyle. She's she's Norman's love interest in this one, and I'll tell you why, in a little bit. Let's see who else you got. Of course, you got Jeff Fahey, the rock and roll wannabe, in this. Let's see. So basically, in the very beginning of this, it's supposed to be, I believe, a few months after the events of Part 2. You see Norman on his day-to-day stuff, stuffing birds. You also notice that they flash over to the diner again, and you have he's clipping or he's cutting a little clip of Mrs. Spool. She's been missing. She just stopped showing in to work one day, and we all know what happened there. I mean, obviously Norman had killed her. In the last movie, we find out that Mrs. Spool was his real mother. Well, fortunately for most of us Psycho fans, they went a different route. They totally ignored. I shouldn't say they ignored it, because they bring it up, and there's a investigator here, a news reporter that's trying to get some information. She mentions later on in the film that Mrs. Spool, was pretty psycho herself. In fact, she had spent some time in the same institution as Norman at one point in her life. So, no, Mrs. Bates was his real mother. Norma Bates was his real mother. Thank God they didn't continue down that path, because honestly, I didn't like that one bit, honestly. So we got that. We do notice that Norman has kept the body of Mrs. Spool to, stuffed her, and just acts like that's his mother. Keeps that body upstairs in her bedroom. So apparently, I mean, you notice right off the bat that he is pretty messed up again. He's back to his old ways. In fact, here you go. Right here, the little thing. Norman Bates is back to normal, which for him is psycho, but Mother is off her rocker again. So this time you do have Norman Bates do the killings of, on this one. So, like the last one was totally confusing. You just had no idea up until the end. You had, you really don't know who did what deaths. I mean, you know that Vera Miles' character, probably did some killing, but then at the end of it, you find out, well, maybe it was Mrs. Spool. So let's see what else. So in the very beginning of this film, you meet Maureen Coyle. She's I think she's trying to be a nun. She's at a Catholic church. You see a bunch of nuns, and she's at a breaking point where she says, there is no God, and and of course the nuns, say to her, not to say that, and she accidentally kills, I think it was the head nun. I'm not sure about that exactly, but of course, they say that she's gonna burn in hell for that. So she runs away. Obviously, she doesn't want to be part of it again. She runs away. She runs into Jeff Fahey, which happens to be going to Los Angeles at the same time because he's like everybody else that goes to Los Angeles, trying to become a rock and roll star. So he picks her up. It's pouring down rain, and he is definitely a creep. He tries to take advantage of her and kicks her out because she just wants to leave. And later on, you see Norman back at the diner, and you see Maureen Coyle get out of a truck, and she does have an appearance like Janet Leigh's character in the first one, and he gets a flashback of her. In fact, it's they did on purpose. Maureen Coyle, MC, also is the same as Marion Crane. So when he looks at the suitcase, it says MC on there. He totally gets a flashback. He's freaked out about it. He just picks up his food and gets the heck out of there. By this point, we notice also that Jeff Fahey's character had stopped there and saw the sign, the for help sign, and got the job there. And he just wanted enough money to fix the brakes on his car and enough money to make it over to Los Angeles. We then spot Maureen Coyle making it over to the motel. She's extremely exhausted. She's been walking all night, all day in the rain, and she's exhausted. So obviously she gets a room there. Jeff Fahey gives her cabin number 1, which we all know that cabin. And again, at this point, Norman Bates is freaked out. And then he's like, "Oh man, you gave her cabin 1. Oh no." So basically, we find out they get real close. Norman again is psycho, and he goes back to cabin 1 dressed as Mother. And when he gets into the bathroom, the famous bathroom, he notices that Maureen Coyle had attempted suicide by slitting her wrists, and she's close to dead. So what appears to her is a religious sign to her. So when Norman had a change of heart, took her to the hospital, and they played off like he was giving her towels, and that's how he found her. And then so on, you get deaths here and there. That's when you also find the love interest between these two, which is that's good. Actually, for me, I appreciate that. You kind of give Norman a love interest somewhat. They're both lonely in their own ways, honestly. Later on, you find out that Jeff Fahey's character had found out by that reporter of who Norman really is, what he's done, and that's when they believe that he had killed Mrs. Spool. He finds the body, steals the body, which Norman had hid, and Jeff Fahey took it back to his cabin. Norman finds it. They get in a huge struggle. It's a pretty good struggle. They go into the swamp, famous swamp, and it's absolutely outstanding the way that they struggle. They go underneath in the swamp. I do like that part, honestly. Jeff Fahey ends up, drowning, I believe, in the swamp, and Norman comes up there, and later on you find out that Maureen is trying to find Norman, because Norman's been avoiding her because he knows that if he is close to her, that he's going to end up killing her. Well, she ends up going up to the house, and he's wet from the struggle with Jeff Fahey, And then she's climbing up the stairs. They kind of hold hands, and I think he hears Mother's voice, and she slips, from the wet fingers, and she gets stabbed by that Cupid. I think it's a Cupid statue, there, and she gets stabbed, and he is pissed at Mother at this point. I mean, because it wasn't his fault. He still has the mother in his head, and to him it was Mother that did it to her, and he loved her. Later on, you find out, you see the reporter come over there, approach Norman, and she runs into Maureen's body. It's covered in candles and like a little shrine for her. And she turns around and she gets freaked out by Norman, who's dressed in the clothing. That's where you find out that Mrs. Spool was crazy, and she goes off and tells Norman that, hey, no, she's crazy, she's not your mother, and you think he's going to kill her, the reporter, but instead he goes and he stabs the stuffed body of her, and that's basically it. He gets taken away because obviously they found the dead bodies of everybody, and that's it. The end of it was great too. I mean, it shows him driving away in the back of, I think, a cop car. And it kind of flashes with him, and he keeps the arm of Mother with him, and he just gets this big grin in his face, which so it's not over for him. He's not completely all there, and that's it. That was the end of it. Again, props to Anthony Perkins for doing the difficult task of taking over as director. Was this as good as part 2 in my opinion? No, it wasn't. It wasn't as strong. I did like the Maureen Coyle character. Of course, I like Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. And there's just nobody else in there was really memorable. I mean, Jeff Fahey, he was there. So out of 10, I'm going to give this 7 out of 10. A strong 7, and I do recommend any new Psycho fan, or if you're just looking for a good time, while watching a movie, go ahead and give this a chance. I do recommend watching them in order. Just 1, 2, and 3. Definitely watch them in order. Alright, that's going to be it for now. Stay tuned. I will do Psycho 4 next. And we'll see what I say about that one. Again, that one, we'll talk about that next time. So, everybody, a strong 7 out of 10. Highly recommend it. Go and give it a watch. And, alright, everybody, take care, and we will see you next time.